So, whoa, no eyeballs this time. So Francisco, for those that remember, or even for those that did not see, he's been doing a bunch of different heads. And here is the last one that we looked at. So this is Francisco's last head that we sent in. And I spent a little bit longer kind of critiquing and looking at the different stuff here. So I probably will not be spending this much time today, but that's the original there, and that is the finished one here on the left. If you guys are interested in seeing this entire process, I spent almost an hour on it. It is over on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Follygon. So yeah, go check that out if that's something that is interesting for you, or you are interested in. Yes, I promise English is my first language. All right. So I think we're going to have a lot of the kind of same stuff to say here for this time, although you have made quite some good progress on this compared to your last head. So I applaud you on that. Each one is getting better. Keep it up, Francisco. Let's add some eyeballs to this just so we can kind of judge the roundness of our eyes. I see that you still have the same problem that you did before with that inner corner of your eye being super deep in there and towards the head. A little bit much. Remember that we want to pull that out a little bit. So very quickly, I'll just append a sphere. And we'll just scale that. Whoa, way too small. Teeny tiny eyeballs. We'll just put this in the head real quick. I'll turn on transparency to do that. And we'll find a good place for this real quick. Slide that on back. And that feels pretty good to me from the profile in terms of placement. So there's a lot of stuff here going on with your eye shape that's just kind of lending to bad looking eyes. That's what we'll say. So what I want you to really focus on for your next head, or for improving upon this one, is to avoid this football-shaped eye. I really want you to start pushing the shape of your eyes more, especially from the front. Eyelid drawing, sure. Something like this. Let me find out. Okay, here. Very simple. So look at this super strong hit right here. So we don't have this little gentle curve coming all the way across. We have this 1, 2 down here, or up here. And then down here we have 1, 2, and it's kind of mirrored. So we have short, long, okay? So what we want to do is get that first hit really well on the top and bottom. So you can see we have this kind of dichotomy going on there, which is real nice. The corner of your eye is going to be a little bit separated. Again, there's a lot of things kind of working together here. It's a really complex area, so it's kind of hard to like do all at once. So we'll kind of handle it a little bit piecemeally. I think you've done a lot better job on the nose here. There are some things that can probably change and improve. I don't have symmetry on. I think we're just going to keep symmetry off. Let me make sure very quickly. Let me look at your email here. Make sure there's some specific things that we can address, because I forgot to read this. I did read it prior though. But for reference, for those watching, I tried to stop going so sharp and fixing some stuff. I haven't had a lot of time to spend on the lips, for example. They're a mess, but that's because of time. I know it would be a nuisance to redo the lips like you did on the last critique. I think you should ignore it and try to see things wrong with the structure of the head, eyes, and nose. Thank you as always. By the way, are you still going to do the live course about making characters? I am. I'll have an announcement at the end of our stream today about that. Remember that demon guy I gave you for feedback? I'm putting him aside for now and starting something fresh. I didn't feel it, and it took too long. Well, that's all right. Always new stuff on the horizon. Take what you learned from the old stuff and push it forward on the new. Sarah, no problem. You have a great rest of your day, and I will hopefully see you next time. All right. So you said you stopped trying to go so sharp in parts of the face. So let's just talk about general structure here. I think this line is still, it's not that it's too sharp. I don't think that's what I would say. I think what I would say is it's got too much of a hit going on the other side of it. So you got too much of a kind of carve in on the opposite side of this shape. So it's creating like this like really sharp shelf going on there. So it's okay for it to be sharp. You can actually get some really cool, like interesting facial shapes when stuff like that is sharp. But I think I just want to blend between that because you're kind of lacking some volume here in your cheek. So that we're kind of getting away from that super kind of break there. Like I said, it's okay for it to be sharp, but it starts to dip in a lot as it wraps around. So make sure you're looking at these really extreme angles like this. So you can see how, if I move the light a little bit, see how you got this just like really tight hit and then it kind of just like dips in a ton? Kind of what we're looking for, or looking to avoid. In terms of general shapes of your head and proportions, I'm going to do something real quick. Let me roll this back. And then do a mirror and weld. Okay, I'm going to work on this by itself. So we'll keep your old one and I have my new one. It's a little bit high for the Dynamesh. So let me keep working on this cheek area. I think for the proportions of the head, you've done a lot better job for sure, but I would say take another look at this from the profile. I can just tell kind of looking at this that there's some things that are out of whack here in terms of the back of your head, and you still got these really tight kind of planar changes here. So if you're gonna do something like this, and you want to make it feel intentional if you're going to do like these really hard breaks. And this just feels like too in between, so I would probably round and clean that up. I can just tell that there's like this weird dip in around your ear, and I can see that from this angle just because of the way the light changes. So I'd fill in this area here. Make sure you're really studying that reference. Look for those areas. I'm just doing this really rough and quick. If I can drop that res down even lower, that would be nice. In terms of the jawline and the neck, the chin feels very squared off and kind of awkward here. You don't have like these, what would you call it, like singular planar breaks for around the like chin area for your skull. You have fat and muscle on top here that starts to change this form, and all these things start to flow and blend together between your lips and into your chin and everything else here. So you don't just have this singular planar break there. For your nose, the way it's sitting on top of your face, you pretty much want this to be one clean line coming down from your face here. So I think you're fine with like doing a raised up nose. There's so much variation in noses, but looking at your lip, see how it's got like this really strong break right there? So right here, we want to avoid that. We want that to kind of flow all the way like nice and clean through here. So pay special attention to that. Don't let your mouth feel like it's getting too flat. I think we're even fine to just erase the mouth that you have right now because you said don't even pay attention to it. So that's fine. So I'd look for stuff like that. In terms of just proportions here from the front view, I think you're pretty good. I would maybe just drop the nose down in terms of placement a little bit. Then, you know, tackle that mouth one more time. Again, all this stuff kind of like works together. Let's see, what else? What else we want to say here? You're still getting really flat in your eyes. Yank back on that outside corner a bit more. And make sure that you're getting the appropriate eyelid order, which we talked about during our last video extensively. So I'll just very quickly correct some of the stuff here so that you can see some of the differences. I would try to get more of a cavity in your eye socket as well so that your eyeball can fit in there properly. I don't know if you made this without eyes in there, but you should really get the eyeball in there just so that you can figure out proportions and placement for your eyelids. You're not going to be able to get the appropriate level of roundness for your eyelids if you don't have an eyeball in there to help you figure all that out. So that's just, obviously this is very messy, very dirty, but we're trying to do this quick, point out as much as we can. Shape of the brow. Definitely a little sharp, right? We want to soften that out. I would maybe, if you even like sculpt some very quick eyebrows in here, I think it'll also help you proportionally figure out some of this stuff. So maybe consider doing that as well. Brows kind of feeling a little flat, so I would maybe take a second look at that. Towards the outside of your eye cavity, there's a little bit more fat out here. It gets a little bit more rounded, whereas inside it gets a little bit more sunken in. So that's also a little bit of that kind of dichotomy of shape that you want to look for. What else? What else really sticks out here? Try not to get too sharp with some of these plane changes, which we've already mentioned. I think that's about it. I think in terms of just kind of pushing this in the right direction in terms of major shapes, that's what I would, those are the few things that I would start looking for and paying attention to. But you are making some progress, Francisco. You're getting there, man. Takes time, takes time. Takes a long time. So what I recommend for your next head, before you move on to a place where you're starting to put on ears, nose, or mouth, what I would do is just use like really primitive blocked out shapes. So don't define your ear. Don't waste time defining an ear. Don't waste time defining your nose. And don't waste time doing this until you get to a point where everything is proportionally where you want it. Look really closely at that reference. Really think about this area. This is a super hard area of the face because everything kind of works together here. Look for those clean, plane changes. See how we're getting this nice clean line coming down here, whereas before you're getting like this weird kind of pinch and push up there. Like right here. Kind of fix that. Same thing with the lips there. Really pay attention to these areas. If it helps you to plane out, I often draw a line kind of running up around my nose into that corner of the eye there. Well, actually what is often helpful for me is I won't even put the nose on until a little bit later, and then I'll just work on kind of planing out this area to make sure that this is like really clean before I move forward. So we're getting a nice clean line there. And then I'll put a nose on top of that.